Wherever the fuck the service decides to go.
There goes.
Hey, my live went faster than your live.
See it.
Ha,
I see the
bitch.
live world.
I got you. Fuck, I used the prison word. I'm sorry. I really didn't genuinely mean that one.
Were you even talking to me? I didn't even know what you were talking about.
I meant to be joking with you, and I used bitch.
It happens.
I fucked up. I'm sorry. I genuinely was trying to rib you, and I fucked up on that one.
I'm
an idiot.
You should have just ignored it.
Is that a thing? Prison words? Am I missing something?
So Josh has it instilled in it. He can probably explain it.
Server lore, and then Josh can explain it. We were playing Mario Party with Cloudy, the guy that we were just talking about, and I said, "Take that, you fucking bitch," and Josh went off.
Man, I
was like,
don't call me a bitch, bro. I said it's not worth calling your friend a bitch over, man, is what I said.
Yeah, he was like, why the fuck you call me a bitch? It's not worth calling your friend a bitch over, man.
Look,
what
man,
the fuck?
In prison, that is a absolute brainwash word. For 6 years of my life, I was absolutely trained that if somebody says that, you better break every bone in their body. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. Even when my friends say it, it triggers me. If my mom hypothetically said it to me, I would chew my mom's ass. Like, I can't. I'm working on it, man. It's a PTSD thing, I think. I'm working on it.
I'm also ribbing you back because in the grand scheme of things, I have words like that too. Like my entire family has always said like, oh, you're just being a fucking asshole. You're an ass. And I'm like, asshole's like one of the worst curse words. I'd rather you call me a cunt or a douchebag because at least I know what the fuck those
we
things
just
are
call
used
you
for.
like it is, an inbred.
Yeah, well, they don't know that story yet. Go fuck yourself.
Coming up on the next show,
hey, just because we had... In all honesty, this is a podcast of people that all could be inbred. We got 2 Southerners, 1 Midwesterner, and me who's guaranteed. It's completely all fucked. How the hell have you guys been? We have Wendy.
What an intro. We got Wendy back.
Yeah, that's the best guest introduction I've been on. Fantastic. We could all be inbred. Wendigoon, welcome to the show.
You never know who is and who isn't inbred. We have got Wendigoon back this week, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of incest.
Story. Speaking of incest, Wendigoon, welcome
Speaking
to
of incest, we bring you Wendigoon, just full screen show.
Okay, we burn all our bridges here, boys. Nothing but love, brother. You know this. I fucking talk to you all the time. Josh talks to you all the time.
It's just us from here on
out. At least you're laughing and not clicking. You know, fuck, man, he left.
The rage quits. I'm sorry, guys. We don't have a Wendigoon. we gave away personal details. He told us not to give away.
That's the whole episode. Just
bye, guys. Real shit's been talked. We'll see you fucking next time.
It really has. We actually obtained the goal pretty early.
What is the normal thing to say? Oh yeah, thank you all for having me.
Yeah. We got to do something normal.
Despite our allegations.
Despite the allegations, I'm still here. So thank you for having me.
There weren't allegations. There were implications. All right. There were implications.
For
those who don't know,
no,
Wendigoon really is one of my favorite YouTubers, man. I haven't been able to see your channel in forever. But for those who don't know, Wendigoon makes phenomenal conspiracy content. And as somebody, as a normie mainstream type dude that never really paid much attention to conspiracy, he doesn't really do videos on conspiracy theories. He does videos on conspiracies that happened. For those who don't know, last time he was on, we discussed the fact that apparently the CIA has openly admitted that the Martin Luther King shooting did not go down the way that your history books say that it went down. This is something that is open, public knowledge, very much admitted by the CIA and the FBI.
Martin
Luther
that is
just one example.
King family won a civil lawsuit proving that it wasn't the actual assassin, it was the government.
Yeah,
right.
I remember. I have fond memories of last time I was on because you remember we looked into the Robert Kennedy assassination.
That was awesome.
Paragraph 2 was the police burnt all evidence.
Yes. The multiple bullet theory. One bullet ricocheted 40 times, and then the CIA burned the door frame. So that's what happened.
And the ceiling panels.
Wendigoon offered the hypothesis. He said, you know what? We haven't even read this story much yet, but something fishy happened. I bet the CIA was involved in this. And then fucking second paragraph, bro. The door frame was later removed by the CIA and burned. That's not fucking sketchy.
Every time.
Every time for real, though, actually.
It's like a joke, but it's not a joke.
Yeah.
That's what killed me. Is like we were clowning and it was true.
I was like 75, 80% sure. And just reading Wikipedia affirmed exactly what I felt.
Yeah. The Wikipedia was
And Wikipedia.
But we were trying to be like a little exaggerative to it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they probably burned all the evidence. Second paragraph, they burned everything.
Literally burned the evidence. Yeah,
Every
that was
time.
a great one.
Like during an active murder investigation, the local department's like, "This is taking up too much space." Just out the window.
These stupid door jam
I'm
things.
surprised the car that JFK was assassinated in is sitting in a museum instead of also sat on the pyre with
It's like
wrong
the
one.
video.
steerage and everything else.
I can't
They got 'em
remember
mixed
the
up.
exact.
They accidentally got the one the other Kennedy drowned in. They got that car. They got it backwards. Shit,
We shot
FBI.
it a couple times just
Was
so
this
it
the car?
makes
Was
sense.
this Hitler's car?
There we go.
The car has like obvious seaweed and water damage. They're like, yeah, it's crazy that Kennedy got
Hold on,
shot
which
in this. That's
Kennedy?
insane.
Which Kennedy died? in
The
this
other
car?
Kennedy's still sitting in there, just rocking.
Actually, guys, it wasn't even a car.
Wait a minute, this is an
It is-
airplane. Hold on, which Kennedy is this? Fuck's sake. Damn it, guys.
It
FBI
is
can't
John
keep up with their
Jr.
death evidence.
It's Jack Jr.'s fucking biplane that went down in World War II that they decided to put in the museum.
Hold up,
So
fuck's sake,
as I
this
was
was Jimmy
saying-
Hoffa. Hold on, we got Jimmy Hoffa here. This isn't even actually the right. Damn it, this isn't JFK. We found him.
No, he was a part of that one too. But as I was saying, obviously, with Wendigoon's background, with Myth's background, with Josh's background, and with mine, I have to say, on Real Men Talk Shit, we talk but nothing about the realest of shit. And anything that comes out of our mouth is 100% fact until proven otherwise.
Which is normally
Fuck the
immediately.
CIA and every other alphabet agency.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
Go ahead,
the
Josh. Say it
feds,
for the
man.
record. Yeah, there you
Fuck the
go.
feds.
Also, fuck
Get
mine
that
and
warrant.
Josh's neighbors.
Earn
Fuck
it.
them too. Fuck
Alright,
everybody
Josh is
that's
going to
around
be
us.
rated during the stream now, so make sure everyone.
Everyone
I'm
be
not live right
recorded.
now. I'm not even
We're
live. I'm done
live.
today.
I'm done. Mercator's not on today, boys. I'm not dealing with this.
Everyone be ready to Photoshop like the soy jack like pod memes over the clip of him getting arrested and tackled.
It's okay. When my laundry shows up, boys, I'm going to call this out now and let's see if the chat actually pays attention to what I say. I'm going to drop my entire camera just that way it looks like somebody.
There we go.
Like the attack.
I'm going
Looks
to put
like
my
I'm gonna
hands
get
up. I'm going to drop my camera and I'm going to get up.
As long as we know what's going on.
Exactly. I'm calling it out now and I'm just going to fuck around with you guys a little bit.
I made a
So-
joke a minute ago about Jimmy Hoffa, but I actually wanted to ask Wendigoon about this real quick because of the conspiracy thing. I made that Jimmy Hoffa joke. You guys aware of the drought, however you want to pronounce it, out there in Las Vegas? You guys heard about this recently?
Is this your conspiracy
Drought.
theory that we're going into? Or are we going into this at the beginning of the show, or do we want to end this show with the conspiracy topics?
This isn't really a conspiracy. This is just straight up a random question. It's not anything.
Oh, okay.
substantial.
All right, gotcha,
I didn't know if
Uh,
this was your homework or not your homework. That's what I was
Nothing to
wondering.
do with the actual matter. But whenever I said Jimmy Hoffa, I thought about the fact, the water levels are really low in Las Vegas right now, and that damn lake is lower at a lower level right now. And pretty much as soon as the water started evaporating, I mean, in 2 days, there was a barrel there with a body in it immediately. All right, see you in a minute, Zach. There was a barrel with a body in it, right?
A
So-
barrel with a, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah. As soon as that lake, I don't know what the name of the lake is, but there's a big lake in Vegas, and the water's draining. And I'm sure there are a lot of fucking people that really don't want that water to evaporate.
Yeah,
But
probably
immediately they
not.
found a barrel with a guy in it. Immediately, and he was disappeared. And they said by his clothes, his wallet, his identification, the things he had in the barrel, that it was the 70s when he got put in there, possibly the
Wow.
early 80s, more than likely the mid 70s. But it's obviously highly decomposed and all that. The
Imagine
internet,
being
man.
the person who has to open that.
Yeah, no, yeah. I thought it was on the internet, like people saw the barrel and somebody walked up to it and was like, "Yeah, that's a guy in there. This is Las Vegas," But, and
That's
then come
the
to find
dude.
out, man, how long has he been gone? I mean, since my parents were little bitty kids, this
That
dude
is
got killed.
crazy.
It was never found. But the internet immediately, at least this has been weeks now, so maybe this has been debunked now for all I know. But last I heard, the internet was like, might be Jimmy Hoffa, man. They might have actually finally found him. He's 70s clothing, that matches. He was in Vegas at the time,
Yep.
They
Yep.
might have found Jimmy Hoffa now because nobody knows what the fuck happened to him, apparently, except for obviously the CIA and the FBI. They know exactly what happened to him. But, if this is him, it's probably going to be hard to get them
First
to
hand
admit
account, actually.
My
it. CIA was there
grandfather-
when he disappeared.
I know this sounds like an unbelievable connection. I'm aware of that whenever I tell people this. like I do conspiracy theories. How am I related? But one of the things that pushed me towards conspiracy theories is my grandfather was a bodyguard for Jimmy Hoffa in the 50s, back whenever he was doing all the work with the Teamsters.
Oh my God.
And I asked my grandfather, I was like, what do you think happened to Jimmy Hoffa? And he was always like, it's not even a question. But like, my grandfather was a bodyguard and a cleaner.
Yeah,
right.
And he said there were these guys who were paid off by the mob that you would take bodies to, and they would own like these recycling plants or like processing facilities. And they would just run a body through with the trash, and the body would get like vaporized or compounded and incinerated or whatever.
Just like in Pulp Fiction with the car dealership place or the car smasher.
Pretty much, yeah. Same idea. And I asked my grandfather, and he said they absolutely put his body through one of those. Because my grandfather always said there was no way the people that he worked with would have left enough of him in one piece that the cops could find him.
Yeah.
So his guess was that he got churned up or destroyed in some way.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people... Go ahead.
Did he have a guess of like if he got killed or if it was like an accident?
Oh, he absolutely got killed. Like,
Yeah.
there's no,
Sure.
yes. So like he was messing with the mob hardcore at first. The reason that Jimmy Hoffa got into so much trouble is because he was originally in their pocket, or he wasn't small fry enough that he like directly owed them. They kind of worked together. And Jimmy Hoffa helped in the political and like union situation the way that the mob wanted him to. But as soon as he started getting tied into the Kennedys and started to kind of forget the mob that built him up to the level he was at, that's when he disappeared. It was I can't remember what the exact move was. It was something to do with criminalizing unions or doing investigations into unions that would have put a bunch of mobsters in jail. As soon as Jimmy publicly announced support for that, he disappeared. So they ran him through. Yeah, he bit the hand. Yeah, exactly.
It's like a president talking about the National Reserve. It's like
pretty much. It's almost like when a month before Kennedy was assassinated, where he said there is a conspiracy by greater powers to overthrow or to enslave every man, woman, and child in this country, and by the end of this presidency, I will get to the bottom of it. And then a month later, some nutcase in a bookstore shoots him as he's driving through Dallas. It's almost like that would happen. What a little coinky dink. What a cute little... that the guy with a bolt-action Carcano shot 3 shots in 2 seconds from 800 feet away. Just the CIA said he did. Dink. Yeah, the CIA investigated, said it was fine. Every time I come on the show, I get heated about that stuff.
I know, man. Welcome to my life. Man, I'm mad at the FBI sometimes. I swear. Welcome to my life. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, you know what, man? Fuck the feds, man. Today in particular.
Exactly.
Man, fuck the feds.
Fuck the feds.
Loud Zach.
Fuck Josh for adding this fucking curly-haired retard back into this podcast. He's a shitty part of it. Why the fuck did you do that?
Good grief, Zach.
Neiman all over
viewers
myself.
like Zach.
Let's bring Void back.
Exactly. Just replace me with Void. The show will get better. You'll have one more viewer.
There we go.
I do want my grandfather's a little gone. Like he's not 100% there.
Right.
But he is sometimes, and I really want to sit him down to interview about Jimmy Hoffa before, because he's like 90. He was in World War II. He's like 94.
Wow.
95. So I need to get on that. But yeah, that's part of what pushed me to the direction I am. But yeah, Jimmy Hoffa got zapped. They had destroyed that guy.
Got liquefied. That ain't him in Las Vegas. That's too much person.
It really is too much. Like Jimmy Hoffa evaporated when the rest of the lake did because he was just part of it floating around.
Jimmy Hoffa's in the clouds. He's all around us. He's watering your crops. Thank you, Jimmy Hoffa.
Jimmy Hoffa is in my heart.
They didn't put that much cement with him, so that way he actually flowed through the Hoover Dam and through the hydroelectric parts. He was chewed up and thrown everywhere already.
Not many people know this, but Jimmy Hoffa is the electric part of the hydroelectric dam.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Jimmy. He was always looking out for
He
the
helped
small
lubricate
guy.
everything.
Always helping the city.
He just always he's had such a big heart. And now he lives in our arteries and in our water supply and electricity. We're gonna be on some freaky shit in a minute. Our screen's gonna be flickering. It's gonna be somebody's face. It's gonna be Jimmy Hoffa's face or something on the computer, man. He's gonna be like, y'all keep talking about me. Be some Beetlejuice shit with Jimmy Hoffa, man. I'm gonna stop.
The ghost of Jimmy Hoffa.
The ghost of Jimmy Hoffa flickering on my computer screen. Help. He told me he was recycled. He said, "Don't recycle. It's just a body hiding scam. It's not even recycling. It's not real. It's just a body laundering organization.
It's all the mob.
A body laundering organization.
You got to cover up where the bodies are coming from. You got to hide where the bodies come from and where they go to.
Whoa! What just happened, Zach? Oh.
We got a comment.
This podcast.
That one was too good. I had to put it up. I'm sorry. I have to make it so it goes over people's faces. So that shit about your grandpa really kind of like sits with me 110%, because like my grandpa's starting to get to that age and I kind of like just reconnected with him. So I like I could hear his stories and shit. And he's like so anti-tech and shit that if I pull out my phone, he gets weirded out because he worked with IBM and shit like at the start. Like help build them up in upstate New York and everything else.
Interesting.
Wow.
And like my family's super fucking crazy, but this is just like part of it. So when he was working with IBM, the stealth bomber was being created, and the computer chip for it was directly created and helped by my grandpa. He helped create the entire fucking thing. Obviously, I can't say who it is, but I can say that he did it. So there was a story that he told me, and he has like the B-52 cups to prove it, because the actual creator of the aircraft sent them to him.
Wow.
It was New Year's Eve, and everybody else in the plant was gone. There was like 2 or 3 people there just to make sure the stuff was running correctly and everything was shipped out on time and stuff like that. And this pallet wasn't shipped. My grandpa saw it, and about 20 minutes later, he got a phone call from fucking Seattle. I live in upstate New York. He got a call from, he got a call from Seattle saying, we're missing a pallet from the shipment that was supposed to be here 2 days ago. It is the actual CPUs for the project that we are doing right now.
Whoops. Zoink, Scooby. We fucked up.
Do you have them, or are they gone? So
do you have them, or are they gone?
I see them.
What the fuck? I sold them out the back door to terrorists. What do you mean are they going?
Oh,
he's like, you know what?
Actually,
I'll take care of this. Give me a little bit. So he calls down to Poughkeepsie, where the closest airport was. That was like,
oh no,
yeah, nothing good goes in Poughkeepsie.
No.
But there was an Air Force base there where they were able to ship things out of and stuff like that for cargo planes. So he chartered a fucking private flight.
Yeah.
Damn.
Just a middleman in a company. He's like, yeah, I chartered the flight. I got it all taken care of. They came and picked it up and dropped it off to Poughkeepsie and got all that shit taken care of. And then they called the company 2 days later because I got that stuff flown in overnight and everything else. They looked at me and they're like, you need a medal from the Army. You need a medal from the armed forces, because what you did was you saved millions of lives. And I looked at him and said, Grandpa, they didn't say that. You didn't save millions of lives.
And he said that it was something like that. It was something about you defeated the Ender Dragon. No, it was great. Trust me. It was awesome.
He's like, wait, look, here's my proof. Here's my coffee mug with a B-52 on it. And I'm like, fuck, Grandpa. Like, your story makes sense. It comes together, but your coffee mug is the proof. And I'm like, fuck.
Hey, that's some old
You're the same age as Joe Biden, and you're just as confusing.
Dude,
I know that's some old people shit. They'll be like, hey, no, look, I can prove it. I have a car or something like that. No, hold up. I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was the 1970s. I swear, old people.
No, every time I talk to my grandfather, though, he's always making up shit. Like, it doesn't matter what. He'll exaggerate stories. He'll just make up a random story. My Nana will sit there and be like, that's completely fake. And, like, he's hard of hearing. So she'll just talk shit about him while he's telling a story, and he can't hear anything.
Man, he's trying to come up with cool stories that might not necessarily be exactly true to make a point and teach you some morals and give his grandson a backbone. And grandma's over here talking out the side of her neck. Like, don't listen to a word that man says. That's conflicted. Zach, I also find it interesting. You said he worked for IBM, dude. You know, that computer company has like They were big in the early game.
Yeah.
Wendigoon, you familiar with John Teeter by chance?
Yes.
Remember they said that was an IBM computer that he had to go, he traveled back in time to 1975 to steal the IBM computer because it was the only thing that could rewrite code in the future. And then they come to find out the IBM computer people that built that computer actually came out and publicly said, whoever this John Teeter guy is actually right. That computer can do exactly what he says. And only like 10 people on planet Earth knew that. So this guy, it's kind of confusing. Yeah. IBM's got a long shady history. IBM might have, done invented some time travel or something.
The crazy computers that they had in upstate New York, 5 of them added together don't equal the gaming PC that's sitting behind my mom.
No, of course not.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But we got to the moon on something that's worse than a flip phone nowadays.
Yeah. I was talking to my wife yesterday about the fact that whenever the Motorola Razr came out, the flip phones, I'm sure everybody remembers the Razr. When I got when my brother got one, he had a few of those 30-second, shit quality ringtones, the la 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 la, or fucking like all those stupid little shit ones,
Yeah, they were all racist back in 20.
It was all a bunch of terrible shit, but back then the humor was
2009.
But I remember going through his phone, looking at those sound clips, and literally every single one of those sound clips was larger than the entire storage of the phone that I had one generation before. Every clip, every single soundbite that he had was bigger than my whole phone, and this was a next generation. Like I was like, what the fuck, man?
The one that made me shit, and you weren't around for this. You were in the Who scale. But when I got my first smartphone, I got an iPhone 4 that was an 8 gigabyte. I ended up getting rid of that phone because it broke or something. I don't fucking remember. And then I ended up getting a fucking prepaid phone that was a 1 gigabyte phone. I was like, fuck, man. Fuck. I have a 1 gigabyte fucking phone. That was 4 phones ago now. This phone is 256 fucking gigs.
3 cameras on it.
3 cameras. There's one on the front too, bud.
2017 is the first time I ever had a touch screen. When I got locked up, I had a scroll ball BlackBerry. For context here, I'd never heard of FaceTime when I went to jail. That wasn't a thing yet. Or maybe it had just come out, or it was coming out like when I went in. But I'd never FaceTimed anybody or heard of it. When I got out of prison, my grandpa shoved his phone in my face, and I was live feed, straight video with my mom. It was crazy.
Yeah. So you skipped a whole generation up to advanced technology. It's like my first phone was a smartphone because of how young I am. But I guess I, maybe played on my dad's BlackBerry when I was really young. But my own personal phone was a smartphone. So it's just weird. I
remember
the BlackBerry was
Cowboy. We're talking about how fast it advanced. Yeah.
2007 smartphone is a little bit different than what we have today. I mean, the iPhone already existed when I got locked up. Don't get me wrong, the BlackBerry was a bit dated.
Oh yeah.
I was broke. It's just for perspective about the fact that I'd never even had a touch screen. My mom bought me this $50 Alcatel touchscreen phone, the cheapest phone that is commercially available, because we weren't sure if I'd be allowed to use it at the halfway house. They go back and forth on the rules sometimes. Let me tell you, learning how to text at the age of 25 or whatever I guess I was 24, and that sucked. I had never used touchscreen before, and it took me months to be able to and one thing that I learned though is that the software in the iPhone and even in that Alcatel, the predictive text is so fucking good now. You know what I was thinking about? The first thing that I noticed, and it's crazy, this shows you how much of an alcoholic I used to be. The first thing that I thought of with this amazing, you can type ADS, DWWW, and it'll know exactly what you mean. It's existentialism. But but what that killed, and this is the first thing I thought of, that killed drunk texting, man. Now you can't know when your homies are wasted. You go to text your homies, you're drinking soccer, and you're fucking up. Your phone will fix it for you. Now everybody's gonna think you're sober all the time and take you seriously. That's kind of a bad thing. You need to know when your homies are drunk.
The worst part of predictive texting, and this is the part that pisses me off so fucking badly.
Bring back flip phones just for alcoholics.
It's fucking fantastic, and we don't have to deal with little red lines on or anything. But yet, for some reason, no matter when I type fuck or fucking, it still reverts back to duck and duck.
That's an iPhone thing. 100% an iPhone thing.
Yeah, I'm 30 years old, Apple. I can handle the F word. I just got out of the fucking Who scout. You can uncensor. You don't have to type duck.
Just not the B word, right, Josh?
I know, right? I swear. Okay, to be fair, it's like that with feminine words. It's actually not just bitch. Like somebody said like sissy or panty.
Well, that's
boy,
the
or,
most
like,
common. That's
I got a good one for you. Have I ever told y'all about whenever I was working at Sonic and the manager lady called me a fuckboy? That has a whole different meaning in prison.
I bet it does.
No,
the
funny thing is,
I was talking to girls, and my manager comes up and she's like, who you texting? I thought you were talking to Woody Woo. And I was like, nah, I've been texting this girl a little bit too. And she goes, oh, you running around like a fuckboy, huh? And I was like, she was my manager too. And I looked at her and said, what'd you just call me? She was like, I said, you're running around, you being a little fuckboy, huh? And I was like, no, you get one thing straight. I ain't no kind of a fuckboy, and I never have been. And like everybody in there is like, and I was like, and it took me a second. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm guessing it's what you probably meant was I'm a guy that tries to fuck a lot of girls, right? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, my bad, dude. I'm sorry. I didn't.
It is really funny, but it does show like how fucking institutionalized it makes you being in there, bro.
It's institutionalized.
I know it's very serious in that context, but I'm imagining like
it was funny.
Josh is in a fast food restaurant, they say that, and just 1,000 yards stare. Like,
dude,
I was probably scared for her
with my
life.
little Sonic visor, bro. I had my cute little Sonic visor, and my shirt was like a size too big because they didn't have any uniforms. So I was like, what you said? It was all looking like a little nerd, man.
What did you say?
The really
start going
fucked up
Hulk
thing
with my Sonic visor.
Is I thought it was the same thing
Did you wear the rollerblades though?
When I was like 15, 16, when they started using that word.
I never heard that word until I was locked up. Yeah, I never heard that word until I was locked up. That was the only context I ever heard it. Fuckboy is a dude that gets fucked, obviously. You're a boy for fucking. So when she said she called me a fuckboy, she meant something completely different. But my institutionalized ass, fresh out of the pen, was like, well, I didn't go to the pen in the feds. I went to prison. But I was just immediately like 0 to 100. And then later on, I had to go. Like, I apologized to her. Don't get me wrong. I was like, listen, I'm sorry. And I was way, way fresher at that point. I'd gotten out for the first time, and I had just gotten out like not even a month before. I was still weird with the job. Y'all should have seen me when I was working at Ashley Furniture, dude. Like having been an inmate that has to work for COs on work crews and stuff like that, it's really hard to function a normal job when you come out because you're like super scared of your boss, if that makes sense. Like, I'm used to my boss hating my fucking guts and wanting the worst for me, not letting me go to the bathroom, not letting me drink water. You know what I mean? That's how they are in there, So, like, whenever I did have a normal job on the street, like, my bosses would repeatedly tell me, like, dude, come on, man. I'm a guy. Like, don't talk to me like I'm God here, bro. You're institutionalized. You can go to the bathroom whenever the fuck you want. You can drink water whenever you want. You don't have to ask me. Yeah, exactly. They were like, as long as you're doing your job, I don't have to fuck with you. I'm not here to torture you. I'm not here to mess with you.
Obviously, prison is an extreme of this, but even schools do that. Like schools kind of institutionalize kids too. It's on a way lesser degree, but
yeah, it's similar thing, man. It's just getting pushed in the water, you swim or you drown, I guess. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do type of thing. And I didn't even know about the bee thing. I think I've probably told that story before. I mean, before I went to prison, I called everybody and their mama a bitch. Like, I mean, just as a joke, I'd be like, my best friend in the world. I'd say, yeah, bitch, hand me a beer. Not think anything of it. And now I look back and I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why would I disrespect my friends like that? But when I first got to jail, I called a guy a bitch. And luckily for me,
that's how you learn.
I didn't know him personally.
Like the context of how you speak and the things that you say changes as generations go on, which is the weirder part. Is like words that were not derogatory before are derogatory now. Like people now genuinely, a lot of people are saying cunt when that was a fucking no-no word for how many fucking years. Now it's like, if you don't put dirty in front of it, you're not being derogatory.
I think we just hang out with a lot of Australians, Zach.
No, that started probably like 10, 15 years ago. Cunt became very, very large in my language. It is actually my wife's favorite curse word. It's fucking hilarious.
It is a good word to say.
If we're playing Call of Duty,
shocking in America. It's still got a good punch here for now.
You get her pissed off slightly. She dies to somebody who drop shots her a little too quickly, and she's like, "What the fuck, you dirty cunt!" And I'm like, "Whoa."
You're like, cool down.
It just rolls right off. It rolls right off.
It's just a game. Take it easy, man.
How many times have I heard that? Oh God. Bro, chill. It's a game, man. Then I always come in with my long-winded explanation about it's not about the game. Okay, there's a person on the other side of that screen.
Josh is out here
like
on a daily basis, stopping himself from going back to prison on a knife's edge, on a razor thin
Sometimes I'm close. I'm not gonna lie. I get in that troll neckbeard mode and I don't stop. But like I'm so like if I wouldn't have gone to prison, I don't know how to put it, man. There's a wall now. There like it's not a line. There's a wall. I go down there and I get on people's case on RuneScape and I'll just be sitting there like roasting them for like 15 minutes and like and the other day I had to go back and apologize to a guy. Like I was like, hey man, listen, I got in that mode. All right, I got in that zone and I was telling this big long-winded story about how he was a fuck up and like I was relating him to this dude that used to throw up in the bong when we were kids and stuff and just like it was bad, man. And then I was like, people see that side of me and they're like, I see why you went to prison, dude. Like I see that you draw that line now, but no, when you get tilted or like start fucking around, you just get ridiculous.
It's really funny because like fucking somebody who's sitting in the chat who hangs out with us on Patreon, fucking New York, he's like, dude, roast me. I was like, you don't want me to go there.
Words are like arrows. Once loose, they cannot be recalled.
No, because I'm the same way. Like once I start, I don't stop until I get a reaction out of you. I'm going to rib you until you feel it enough to have a response. But I see both of us doing the same thing in life. I do it with Twitch and you do it with going back to jail. You sit your balls on the fucking wall and you just walk as far as you possibly can every day.
Got to drag that ball on the line.
I sit my balls on Twitch TOS and like, how many times can I dunk this before they get pissed off?
How many times until I get a slap on the wrist? Hopefully.
That judge that hated you is just staring at your streams every day, just waiting for you to pass that line.
On some straight anime shit, bro. Like in this big villain room with an organ and Twitch mobile, just sitting there like the light flickering on his face in a dark room, just waiting. No,
he's like,
and then one day I slip up and I'm playing Call of Duty and I'm like, damn, I dropped my gun, and he's like, go get him. Blue team, go.
No, you're playing Call of Duty on 420 and your lights just turned red. That's insinuating death. Go get him. Lock him up.
I was wearing basketball shorts. It means I was
obviously symbolic for another school shooting. Like
that's where I was going.
Another one implying
obviously the red light.
Yeah,
obviously
he's at it again. He's up to his shenanigans. We have to stop him.
He's planning it all over again.
Boy.
He's got to be stopped.
All right, we know what to do this time. This time we got to plant guns. We know he doesn't have any. Bring guns this time.
He's thinking about moving to Texas.
Bring guns quickly. This time. That's why we messed up last time.
They're like taking your old prison journals.
Don't worry,
guys. Taking your old prison journals and scribbling in a manifesto.
He's moving to Waco. Fuck. He's taking over again.
Hey,
speaking of Waco,
some guys are removing my door frame. What are you doing with my door frame? Hey, come back here. Hey,
it seems that you guys, that Josh's manifesto is written in different handwriting than the rest of it. Well, that's because he was on his goblin mode, Your Honor.
Goblin mode. He drank water after midnight.
He went full-fledged gremlin on him. We weren't supposed to give him any water after midnight. We're supposed to feed him. He popped out. Now they'll be here.
I'm gonna fall because of donut theory. Josh is gonna fall because he drank too much water after midnight, and Myth just uses handguns incorrectly. So everybody's gonna love when they can hear that story, but I'm gonna keep moving. So we've been planning this episode for like the past 2 months. I've given everybody homework. And I'm going to pick on the one that I didn't think did it. Josh, I want you to lay out all of your conspiracy theory so that way Wendigoon can grade it.
Okay.
He's going to judge who has the better conspiracy theory.
I need to understand, like, when you say better, is this what I think is the most authentic, or is this what I think is the coolest?
Okay. So I stated it this way. I don't know if they did it because I didn't ask them what their opinions or what they did it on. Okay. I wanted it to be something that they kind of connected the dots on, and it wasn't something that already was a conspiracy that they've read about. So yes, it could be a conspiracy theory that is out in the open already, but it's a concise thought that they came up with themselves without being backed up by the news, which is why mine, I went through and I kind of correlated the way things work and kind of my opinion on how they would come into a conspiracy.
To answer your question, I think it's a bit of both. Like, you know, believability and
cool
creativeness.
Factor, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're saying, because if it was like, if you were just aiming for realism, the conspiracy would be, hey, some government employees are underpaid, and that would be like just lame but true. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not much of a conspiracy.
All right, I want to make it interesting. Whoever I think is the best, I'm going to send $50 to.
Ooh, we've got a good
that gives you some incentive to nail it correctly. So, all right, let's go.
And boys, remember, I said notes, no fucking full paragraphs in Google Docs that you're reading off of, you fuckheads.
Oh no!
I wrote a whole script, Zach.
All three of us are pretty fucking good at talking. Don't fucking read your script, man. I will turn you off your internet.
Zach, I spent a whole week.
Nope, sorry, bye. I will dox you. Not dox you. I will dox you right now. I will kick you off. You'll be gone. You'll lose.
I will dox you right
Just read it like you're not reading.
Threatening me.
That would be really funny if Mitch starts reading and Zach just goes 308 Aurora Lane.
Just start speaking his address.
I have your address too, Zach.
Oh hell! Mutually assured destruction. Mutually assured pizza deliveries. Oh shit! Mutually assured pizza deliveries on the way.
Exactly.
All right, we ready for mine?
Buy you a pizza. You buy me a pizza.
We are ready for yours.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Okay, so the conspiracy that I've started working out, right? The Church of Latter-day Saints. Okay, Mormons.
All right.
Also,
yeah, we're getting started hot.
Hold on. I want to say what my predictions were before anything happened. I knew I was going to do mine on like geopolitical stuff. No, it proved my point, and it's going to be funny. So
I mostly did mine because of what you said, but I probably would
geopolitical stuff. You 100% were going either religion or ideology. I said this even before I told you, and I said Myth was going to go psychedelic.
You're wrong on my account.
But you were going to before I said
be related.
Probably.
He's
He threw that one away when you said that. You were like, and you're going to do psychedelics. He was like, way wrong.
Fucking DMT. Fuck you, asshole.
I had to spend a whole new week writing a new script. It was terrible.
Nick, you don't do anything other than trade crypto, man. Come on.
Yeah, I do sit at home all day.
TikToks don't do themselves. Josh, go ahead.
Latter-day Saints. Let's go.
All right, here we go. So it starts with the Church of Latter-day Saints, okay? We know about the Mormons out there in Salt Lake City, you know. Some of them got some shady dealings. Some of them got some not so shady dealings, okay? Now, unrelated, we also have the Church of Scientology, okay? We all paying attention right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know too terribly much about the beliefs of the Church of Scientology. I know that from the one or two that I've talked to, you know, they believe that your souls can be stored in other places, crystals on other planets, very deep out in the galaxy. The Mormons also largely, at least the sects that I've watched videos of, also believe in this, right? This conspiracy that I've got.
Sects. That's an interesting porno.
SECTS, sects. The different Mormon sects.
Josh said, "Shut the fuck! It's my time."
Wait, you got a hole with it. You got a sheet with a hole in it or something.
Yes.
Josh said,
no.
"I have the talking stick."
Those vacuum sealed bitches that are plastic wrapped.
All right, Josh, you have the talking. You have the talking stick. Continue.
Yeah, no. All right, so both of these groups, okay, have got a lot on the line in regard to physical manifestations of either angels, what we could call aliens, and existing on other planets. I have a real men talk shit mustache. Okay, these two groups are working together to infiltrate the government's files, and this has already happened with the Church of Scientology. They have been accused publicly of hacking into government mainframe or storage bases for whatever information, trying to remove information that contradicts their way of life and their teaching, okay? The Church of Latter-day Saints largely has a lot of controversy surrounding the fact that some of them accept polygamy, multiple wives, you know what I mean? With what I was just watching last night, there's a new Netflix documentary about it. These people believe that in having lots of families, lots of wives, and by having at least 3 wives and making lots of children, that you will become a god in the afterlife. The more children that you have, the more family that you create, you will become the father and the god of your own universe. Okay? You see what I'm saying here? And I believe that the Church of Scientology has low-key sniped the ideas, okay, of Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith and I can't remember which Romney. Romney's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, you know, they were like the founders of Mormon. And Romney's the one that backed up Joseph Smith when he came out of the woods and said, I had a vision of an angel. I'm the only one that can read these books, you know. It's a new revelation from God on top of what Jesus said, and this is an extension of that. Okay. And I do believe that the Church of Scientology is in cahoots with the Mormons on trying to move forward with this conspiracy, man. And there are things that are false flags. For example, the pedophilia thing that I was just talking about, right? There was a huge thing with Warren Jeffs and Rulon Jeffs. The fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints just got busted down there in Texas with marrying 12-year-olds and having sex with them, all kinds of horrific things. These are all just red herrings. Okay, these are all red herrings. The Church of Latter-day Saints and the Mormons are both adherents of a global conspiracy trying to move forward. Maybe it's to do with, like we talked about before, maybe they're trying to solve string theory and allow us to access other dimensions and see the universe that is right on top of ours, to see these other things. But that the two, while one group embraces Jesus and the other rejects it, essentially they have the same foundation. They have the same beliefs, the same moral system. They are moving forward to take over the world in search of proof of aliens, or what the other group believes are angels. But both groups think that they're the same thing, and both of them are trying to move forward into space, into a new era. They want to be left behind. They want to go to Zion. They want to take off on the ship. They want to get the fuck out of here. And the Mormons, okay, and the Church and the Scientologists, secretly behind the curtain, have been working together to work towards this new world order as we move forward into proving the existence of aliens, making contact with them, or, as in recent years, just having the government admit that they are there. It's all one big giant thing. So it is religion, yes, but it's also space, because one side is interpreting them as aliens. One side is calling them angels. Both of them are working together foundationally to move forward into a new era of space. And so the creepy pedo Mormon space people that just got busted down there in Texas, that's all just, a red herring offshoot of a cult. Okay. The real foundation here is trying to move forward into the space era and access the angels in the dimensional plane where fractalization takes place. They're trying to figure out how to go there. It is the ultimate goal. And both of them are working on this together. They just have different methodology. Boom.
That sounds very, very believable.
Interesting. Can I ask questions on it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, also, if I had to because I was mentally trying to think about the different aspects of that. If I had to give the theory itself outside of believability, proof and all that stuff. If I had to give the theory itself one, I'd put it at a 7, because I do think it is interesting how it combines two overarching grand schemes within religion with each other. My question would be, so I understand how the two religions intertwine belief-wise. The both place an emphasis on personal gratification to the degree of a level of godlyhood or sainthood or whatever you want to call it.
You could obtain that.
Correct. Yeah, you can obtain it by doing things on earth that you push to a degree to where you have riches in the afterlife in excess of typical saints or Christian theology.
Right, not like a Christian thing of heaven's going to be great, but this is specifically I want to be a god.
Correct. Yes, it's in a greater succession of that. So all that I rock with for the theory. My question would be, outside of belief, where is your evidence of connection between the two?
So it primarily starts with Warren Jeffs, okay? Warren Jeffs, for those who don't know, was the cult leader of what they call the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. It's the pervert that just got busted down there. He had 70-something wives, and most of them were underage, and he was in his 50s maybe. Absolutely horrific case, okay? His inner circle and one of his top supporters was one of the only ever known converts. Okay, you see where I'm going here. He was the only person that they know of to convert from having been, he lived outside of Salt Lake City with a questionable past, very much into science, okay? I can't remember this dude's name. He's in this documentary, all right? He's the only convert. His name is Hall, and he had 3 wives and all this good stuff. He is a convert. Originally, he was from California. Okay, he's from Los Angeles, where at this time and place, this is where the early Scientology movement was happening. It would seem as though this man had some form of awakening. He either embraced it as a religion instead of seeing it. Like I said, in my opinion, this is 2 views of the same thing. They're just interpreting it slightly differently. In my personal opinion, that convert that is in this documentary had some revelation in regard to this not being a scientific matter, but rather a spiritual. At that point is when he migrated to Salt Lake City and joined the Mormons. Shortly thereafter, he converted to a fundamentalist, which is the extreme one, with the polygamy and the we will become gods. And that's when he moved down to Texas. So if I'm not mistaken, the branch began in California. You see what I'm saying? And also, if I'm not mistaken, the Mormons weren't originally, they they didn't start in Salt Lake City. They went there, if I'm not mistaken, right, as the promised land of sorts.
As the joke I said at the bottom of the screen, I know you weren't paying attention. So there's a joke that I'm a Mormon because I'm from upstate New York. That's where the tablets were found, were upstate New York, and then they traveled to St. Louis, and then they moved from St. Louis to Utah
in search of the promised land now, right?
So I do have one question. I can say this openly now because there's a split. Do you guys want to do one question each to fuck each other up? Like, I have one question, Myth has one question to fuck you up, then you guys have one question to fuck me up.
I think we can probably.
I just figured I'd ask before I interacted, because so the one thing that you kept hitting on but like not kind of selling was you said that this is a connection to some grand cabal and like part of the government.
Cabal could be a word.
Like that. Yes.
I guess you could call it cabal, yeah.
You kind of kept interlinking the government with religion and stuff like that, but the only thing that you kind of linked them with was just the fact that they're synonymous and in the same location.
Hold on. Good grief, that vape hit. No, the government here in this case is the opposing force to both of these, because the government is the one that's propagating this worldview. You know what I mean? As far as the connection between the two, I believe it all traces back to the earlier days of right before the Scientology movement really started. And for all I know, maybe the Mormons went out to California and actually planted the seeds there. But I do believe that they came from the same foundation, have disagreed about methodology and progress. And I believe that the Mormons are just as interested in getting into those databases as the Scientologists are. They probably just don't have the technology.
The technology.
Anybody buying it yet?
Go up to the top of the mountain and read the tablets for you. You did good, bud. Nick, do you have a question?
Coincidentally,
Wendigoon's
actually,
not buying it.
My conspiracy
Isaiah's
is that
I'm trying to say, hold on.
He's about to rip me and you asshole shit.
I'm crying.
No, he laughed.
Before we started the show, Josh was a little late. I'm snitching for the sake of the joke. Josh was a little late, and Zach was like, if he doesn't get here soon, I'm gonna call an FBI raid into his house. So whenever Zach was like, can I ask you something to trip you up?
You were like, here comes the feds.
I imagine
you are misquoting me, dude. Come on.
I imagine how funny it would be if Zach was like, okay, but counter this, and then just like Josh's
just a fist.
It's just like everywhere. There's like 2 agents dropping in from the ceiling. There's some coming up.
FBI agent just pops up behind me. Let me ask you
one just swings in and kicks you in the face on a rope.
Window right here, just legs right through the window, just combat boots.
Have Karis's black arm come from the side of your screen.
All right.
Grab the back of
Coincidentally,
your neck.
my conspiracy is that Wendigoon is inbred. No, but my real conspiracy, and I think I went more believable on this, is that the CIA and the mob are one and the same. So we all know that the CIA is pretty confident breaking laws nowadays. They're fine with killing American citizens or assassinating them as they like. They're fine with selling drugs, but we have lots of documents that have proven a ton of illegal activity from not only the CIA, but other government agencies, including like selling 2,000 pounds of crack to gangs and selling firearms to cartels. These are all things that the mob also does. So, I wanted to start this with a kind of a controversial name in this subject is Richard Tawes. And Richard was a Vietnam veteran who, just to play on his character, when he was in Vietnam, he as a single father adopted a 4-year-old Vietnam child who was an orphan. And he later became a CIA agent who started writing reports on these corruptions in the CIA, them selling drugs, them working with the mob, money fraud. And as soon as he wrote these reports, when he tried to turn them in, he was told to destroy them and never bring it up again. when he kept pressing this issue, and not to say that this is not fake or that this is fake, but it is odd timing and doesn't really fit with his character. He was hit with sexual assault allegations and ended up serving 23 years in prison. And throughout the whole time, he insisted that his innocence, first off, and that the CIA were doing these illegal activities, and that's the reason that he's in prison. So it's quite obvious that the CIA has worked with the mob, not only hiring assassination certified mob boss killers and working with them for money laundering and things like that. But there has also been lots of CIA agents who started their career in the mob. One of the biggest names of this is Enrique Pedro. Enrique was a Cuban immigrant who was first rejected from the CIA for quote unquote previous family connections. So they said, you can't even work here because, you're connected to a mob or a crime family. And later he was accepted into the CIA under a new administration. And he is known for working under the legendary cocaine trafficker San Pedro, and he worked as the bodyguard and enforcer to him. And during this, he built up a network of basically a kill squad. He had a squad of people that were just super trained in assassinating people. And Enrique was actually known for starting the Blackwater Corporation. The Blackwater Corporation was a CIA agency used to specifically assassinate overseas individuals. It was targeted assassinations, basically. And from that, it's supposed that Enrique took his kill squad from the mob and hired them to work in the Blackwater agency. So, that's quite a bit of a quinky dink. But you also have other cases like Lucky Lucino, known as the father of organized crime, who was a big liquor salesman during Prohibition, and he was arrested and sentenced to 50 years. He got out for literally working with the CIA and connecting them with the mob in Italy during World War II. And then so he got a 50-year sentence, and then all of a sudden they just deport him back to Italy for setting them up with the mob in Italy during World War II. And that's known as Operation Husky, actually. You can Google that. And so these numerous similarities and many more that I'd love to get into sometime, but for the sake of time, we'll cut them out. And not only does it seem like the CIA works with the mob, but they are so closely interlinked that I don't think there's any reason to distinguish between the two at this point. And that's my TED Talk.
Interesting. I don't really have a question to trip them up. If the statement is the mob equals the CIA, I'm not arguing. So
that's what I mean. That one, like, the only criticism I would give that one is it's along the lines of what I said earlier. Like,
yeah, that's what I was
thinking.
thinking.
If one of you were to be like, did you know the government doesn't pay well sometimes? Like, it's just a fact.
Right. Yeah. They're definitely mob and CIA connections for sure.
Correct. But I do like a lot of the specific people that you tied in, a bunch of the specific routes you take. I guess my question then for you would be, your overall theory is that the CIA and the mob are the same. So are you saying that the mob developed the CIA, or that the two are just one organization?
I'm saying that the CIA has been so developed by mob influence that the mob basically rules the CIA at this point.
Interesting. Okay.
They're immune to the CIA because of how inherently they're linked, basically.
Your Honor, I do have a question. How much of your script did you read?
Like 50% of it. There's still like 2 more pages,
every now and then,
there's still like 2 more pages.
How much
so disappointed? He's like, wait, I have more.
I declare we throw out all of his testimony.
I'm sorry, you guys just didn't do home.
No, sorry, you lose.
He got sent to the shadow world.
Zach's DDoSing me now.
He's been banned.
He's about to read my address. Quick.
I thought he was about to make an address go across the bottom of the screen.
This fucking cheater.
1, 2, 3, 4, Happy Lane.
Okay, so I think that one almost had the opposite positives and negatives as Josh's, because I really like the uniqueness and angle of Josh's theory. The only downside was, other than circumstance and like belief, I didn't see a lot of connections. Whereas yours was pretty,
pretty much just true, probably
pretty on the money. Good facts connecting it all, but at the same time, where Josh was like, "Ooh," I was like, "Yeah."
You're just like,
yeah. Sadly,
I did my best.
Both are fantastic. It's hard to decide between the two. But before I come to any final decisions, we need to get to Zach's. Unless there's any further questions at the moment.
No, I rest my case.
So.
My biggest case was the fact that he read a script, and all that testimony should be thrown out. He's disqualified.
My problem with it is that he's a liar. Anyway,
he's a liar, pants on fire.
Your Honor, liar, pants on fire. Guilty party say what?
What? Oh shit!
And that's how Josh went to prison for 10 years.
Damn, man, got me again, man.
Shit. Every time I've heard the RuneScape story get told, that's pretty much how it went down.
Yeah, basically. Pretty much the gist of it. I'm gonna say 4 days later, the FBI kicking my door down.
I think it's funny. We all looked at this and said, you know what? Which 2 different things can we combine? We all did the same exact fucking thing, which is the most hilarious fucking thing in the world.
Is that usually what a conspiracy is drawing lines, between 2 seemingly unrelated things?
All of us went, wait, there's 2 halves of a circle here, and stuck them together. No matter how logical they are. Like, you went ideology wise, and like the ideologies match, so you're like, let me put these together. Myth is like, oh, these circles are like right next to each other. If
opposing ideologies,
they're there.
He just smashed into each other.
You know what? Mine is a circle that was torn apart. So, boys, as we all know, the USSR was destroyed after the Cold War ended, and the wall dropped. And everything kind of has run amok since. But in 1999 or 1998, when Vladimir Putin took office, goddamn, I didn't copy and paste that one. I had it copied, not pasted, because I'm a fucking retard. So when Putin took office, his main stance was always to recreate the USSR. It's been kind of like his life's goal of just recreating the USSR. So I'm going to go forward, and then we're going to go back in time and kind of lay out what my opinion is. So as we go through, he annexes in numerous different things, and you see his interactions with people and who are supposed to be his friend and people who aren't supposed to be his friend. And you see how all of these people go through and interact with him. And now we see a war going on for Ukraine. A war that's going on when Putin supposedly is on his deathbed, where he's looking at having surgery, where he's looking at possibly dying relatively soon. And his goal still is not accomplished. Or is it? My assumption is, and this is what I want you to tell me if I prove it or disprove it, is Vladimir Zelensky and Vladimir Putin are working together to recreate the USSR. Obviously, because Donald Trump did not actually affect Vladimir Putin as much as they say he did. They said that Trump and Putin were best friends the entire time that he was in office, and the Steele dossier proved it. But, my friends, In 2008, when George Bush was in office, Georgia was annexed in by Putin's Russia. In 2014, when Obama was in office and Biden was in office, Crimea was annexed by Putin's Russia. The entire time that Donald Trump was in office, nothing was annexed in by Russia. In 2022, Ukraine was attacked by Putin's Russia. Isn't that kind of funny how that lines up? Just how the person that supposedly wouldn't give him any repercussions is actually not interacting at all. There was no interaction between any of the Russian previous states and Putin during the time that Trump was in office. Now, let's go back into the past a little bit to the beginning of the war. When Putin sent his forces over, what did he send? Did he send his elite to blitzkrieg through fucking Ukraine and destroy it? No, he fucking didn't. He sent people like Myth, 19, 20-year-olds, that had no idea where the fuck the turn was and what the fuck the Ukraine is. That's what happened. They sent completely ignoramuses that had no idea what their mouth from their asshole was and just sent them. They didn't know which way the gun shot, where the ceiling was, and how many bullets it took to get into a mattress. So what happened was they sent people that couldn't accomplish the job that he was actually on news saying that was going to happen. He wanted to blitzkrieg through fucking Ukraine like the Germans blitzkrieg through Europe. 4 days turned into, what is that now? 4 fucking months. $40 billion from the United States, just money, let alone other assets that were sent, and everything else. And not a single other country has said, you know what, we're going to be a part of this. The entire time before the war, they said, no, we don't want to be a part of NATO. We don't want to be a part of NATO at all. That's too aggressive towards Russia. Now, all of a sudden, they're like, yeah, we want to join NATO. We want to join NATO. And now NATO's saying, we don't fucking want you in NATO. Isn't that fucking weird? They have these fucking idiots attacking their country that don't know what the hell they're doing. They want to join NATO now after the war started, when they could have dealt with the war beforehand. So, how many individual people did these people take out of power in Ukraine? Because I've counted at least 4 mayors or governors that they've taken out of power while this entire war has gone on. And if you remember, within the first couple days of the war, they were knocking on the door of Kiev. They were there. They could have destroyed the entire country. They could have taken over the capital, and they would have had no arguments, no problems. They were there. It was done. But you had Vladimir Zelensky on TV every single day being portrayed as a George Washington Christ-like figure. He's being portrayed as the right arm of the free world right now. To every single United States citizen, to all of the European Union, to everybody. He is the biggest figurehead in the country, not even Joe Biden anymore. So if the war was to get power, what has Putin accomplished? He was right there. He could have taken Vladimir Zelensky out any day. He could have had spies go in and take him out. He could have had a strike happen on Kiev and turn it to rubble. And I'm sure that they probably would have got him. I'm sure those mayors in those states and cities that were being bombarded by bombs hourly, those governors and mayors were just under as much cover as Zelensky is now. And Zelensky's on TV every single day, demanding every single one of us to help him. I'm not saying that, you know what, the Ukrainian people are bad, because I think the Ukrainian people that are there deserve the help that we are giving them. I think Vladimir Zelensky is the puppet government of the USSR. He could have been taken out at any point in time, and he's still sitting there. Putin is allowing him to be George Washington. Putin is allowing this to continue. If he's the second greatest country in the world, which is debatable whether it's China or Russia, then why would he send Cold War armaments into Ukraine? Obviously, it's because it's psychological warfare. Now you don't know which fucking tank you're shooting at unless it has a Z on it. You know, it's kind of fucked up. It's kind of fucked up. They're one of the same. All the people are the same. They've been sending Russians into Ukraine for the past 20 years to be able to say, hey, the population is homogenous now. They're trying to annex in the eastern part of Ukraine. No, they're trying to create the USSR. That's my TED Talk, boys.
Wow.
And I had 3 bullet points, you fuckhead. I didn't have a script.
I'm sorry, I actually did my homework, Zach.
No, I said bullet points from the beginning, you fuckhead. No, I love you. Nothing but love, boys. I just thought it was fun. I love ribbing you guys. You guys.
All right,
So I missed,
you gonna
like-
shoot it full of holes.
I'm trying to. For one, I think it'd be hilarious if someone like joined in the middle of that and had
And they thought it
absolutely
was-
no idea. Yes,
Yeah,
I had
no
clue
context.
what was going on. So I'm. For one, I want to say bravo on like the all the different lines and threads that got connected. Good job. This is personal, right? The thing
Yes.
that I personally think could be the most
Yeah.
plausible. So I have a lot of, I mean, everyone's got opinions, but I have a lot of theories about all of that stuff going on right now.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I had a couple people stay at my house recently. They're a married couple. One's the missus is Ukrainian and the man's Russian, and we talked for a long time about all of this. They recently came to the U.S. from Ukraine. And I have my own theories that go in a different direction. So I'm trying to separate my own thoughts around it from that whole theory that was put together. Go ahead.
I do want to say that doesn't mean that's my genuine opinion.
Correct.
It's me
Yes.
being able to see dots that could be connected and portrayed
Right.
in a certain way.
Yeah. Like
I
theories put
completely
together.
respect and understand Ukraine fighting for its independence,
Right.
and I think it should.
What
I just
is-
wanted to state that because somebody will clip that.
What Zach thinks.
Uh,
Zelensky. They're the same Vladimir. Vladimir and Vladimir, same
okay,
guy.
Okay, my question would
Hey, I've
be-
never seen them together. Wait a minute.
Oh no. My question would be, again, within the theory itself, what does Vladimir, not Vladimir, what does
Yes.
Vladimir Putin stand to gain from that? So other than obviously taking USSR, but what does he stand to gain on the world stage from being the
faking
bad guy in this scenario? From faking
Okay,
it, essentially.
So that's the entire overarching thing if you look at it. So you have Putin, who's his entire goal with leading Russia was to become the USSR again. He wanted to lead the
Correct.
USSR. And if he's handpicked Vladimir Zelensky, which we already know has been questionably dirty with the Bidens, with other past presidencies, which he also has been dirty, which is why I connected those things as well. He annexed in countries during times where you're not supposed to annex in people. Then you have that connection of, hey, he wants to instill a government that, number one, he put together. And if Zelensky is part of this, then that makes sense. He's taking people out of power. The chat said, well, they're moving Zelensky. No, in the grand scheme of things, every single time he's live streamed from somewhere, it's been his fucking Capitol Hill location every single time. Every single interview he's been, it's been there with the sandbags behind him. It's not that saying that it's impenetrable. It's saying exactly where he is. He's upfront and honest where he is. And honestly, that's the right way to go about it as a leader. I honestly feel like as a leader, if you're in war and you're being invaded, you should be the front of the fucking war. You should be the head. But I think that he would be taken out if they really wanted him taken out.
But what does he stand to gain from looking like the bad
He stands
guy,
to
though?
gain because if he reunites the USSR, he has the George Washington to come behind him. USSR then gets pushed ahead because then they're led by everybody's cult-like figure right now, Vladimir fucking Zelensky.
So you think he's basically turning him into the hero that when he converts to their side and publicly embraces the Russian tradition and says, you know what, never mind, this invasion is great. They were really in together all along.
Exactly. Because there's been no actionable threats on Zelensky. There hasn't been. At least that have hit the press. And that's press from Reddit. That's press from actual news sources. That's press from everywhere. There hasn't been actual credible things, even when they were on the door of Kiev. So how there's not a connection, how there's not conversations going on, is kind of blind to say that there isn't.
I'm just saying, congrats on getting Josh to talk about politics a little bit.
No, I'm biting my tongue big time, but it is what it is. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that you said that, like, I mean, it's since we're talking about conspiracies and things like that I didn't mention. Like, I mean, you were talking about how, oh, look, nothing happened between Putin and Trump when Trump was in office. They just talked about that like a week ago, but this is supposed to be conspiracy. So, like, that's why I didn't say anything. But, like, that's already been addressed. They already talked about why Putin didn't make any moves when Trump was in office. His chiefs of staff and White House
like an attack to his character. That's like an attack to character. So, like, if you have him annexing in under every other president, but the one that they said is his best friend, that they're one and the same, that they're so connected that they're able to be seen together and talk about each other and stuff like that, instead of looking at them as humans, they tried to connect the dots in between them and use them as figures. You know what I'm saying now? It's not necessarily, hey, he didn't interact with him. He didn't annex in and gain country and land.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that.
The person that would be the easiest on him.
During the hearings that have been happening recently, the point blank reason that people said, I don't know who this is a quote of, and I'm sure everybody's going to be pissed off. I'm not saying my beliefs. I'm saying what was said is that the reason that Putin made no moves with Trump, even though everybody would think that he would, because obviously Trump wouldn't have done anything to him, is what they say. Apparently Trump was just too dense for him to want to make any moves, because apparently the way that Putin operates is he likes to speak in, slang, metaphors, suggestions. And according to these sources, Trump has to be told everything 3 times and then still doesn't understand the subtleties of what you're trying to do. He's not good at sneaky, underhanded criminal behavior is what they said. And therefore it was not a good time. That being said, I don't remember who that quote was from. That's from some hearing I was reading about like a week ago. Not even saying it's true, but that is an alternate view of why this could be. It's not like, oh, well, if they were best friends, then he would have invaded while Trump was in office. That's just that's a very wide blanket to sweep with,
No, I'm just saying that's a really kind of stereotypical point that a lot of people would be like, if they were friends, if they were that connected. Think about it this way. Josh, if you owned land and I wanted your land and we're friends, you're more likely to give me that land if we're friends.
That depends on whether or not I'm at risk of losing control over my land based on who I'm giving some of my land to.
That's what I'm saying. But if it's not my land that you're trying to take, and it's Wendigoon's land that you're trying to take, and I'm like, you know what? That's not my problem. I'm going to go hands off. I'm not going to intervene. That's more likely to happen.
I don't know. I think you lost me on that one, man. I'm a little confused.
They appeased him the same way that they appeased Hitler at the beginning of World War II. They said, annex it, take it, take it, take it. Now he's at war. But the person that he didn't annex during was Trump. The person that's kind of like the loose cannon and willing to kind of do anything and put his balls on the table. Yes, he was a jackass. Yes, he was a retard. But at the same time, if it hurt America, he flipped the bird to everybody and kind of stuck up for America that second.
Okay.
I know you don't like going into politics, which is why I kind of stopped it. But that's kind of my point.
Myth, do you have any questions about it?
What happened was just
yeah, I know, man.
Thank you. That one was an interesting one. Again, I'm trying to separate personal theory from it. Okay. This is interesting because, like, the thing I liked about Josh's is that the theory, I understand its roots. I like the direction of it. I don't think there was a ton to stand on. The reasons I liked Myths is because there was a ton to stand on.
But it was done for him.
But it was kind of straightforward.
It was also kind of like, we know already.
Yeah. Right, yeah. But Zach's was an in-between where it's like, I understand where the theory begins. I understand why there's grounds for it. On the littlest bit, though, it didn't make the connection. Just like, I think the question I asked was the big reason. So, like, I understand, again, I'm talking within the theory.
You're good.
I understand the idea of play a game on the world stage so that you could garner money or what have you before you reunite the USSR or whatever. That like all that there. The part, again, and the thing I asked a question about that just doesn't connect enough for me is Putin could do it in ways that does not vilify or destroy himself on the world stage, and that the gain does not outweigh the risk.
So that's also where the surgery lays out a little bit too. And feel free to poke holes in this, boys. I'm willing to actually answer questions because I do put a lot of thought into things.
So just called you out, Myth.
So I don't script everything I do. I do it off the top of my head, you jackass. So when he was in surgery or is going into surgery, he's handing off the nuclear launch codes. He's handing off everything. So if this is not what's happening, why not nuke fucking Ukraine when they sit there and have him under surgery? That's not on him. That's on his top general. They shoot that general off in Siberia. Game's over. It's done. They could have everything. Everything could be done. Nobody's going to invade Russia. We've already seen Nazi Germany fail at invading Russia. Regardless of if they're behind or not in tech, they still win every single war that happens in Western Russia. Nobody's going to invade them.
That's also another thing worth noting, by the way. You were saying about like Cold War type gear and they sent in all these untrained youth and all that. That doesn't mean anything other than all that could mean is that Putin underestimated Ukraine. It could be as simple as that. It could mean that they're lying about what they have. They don't have the tanks and the resources that they claim to have. I mean, that could be a whole lot of things. It doesn't mean clearly they weren't really trying to kill them. I think.
Well, no, that's not my point. My point was they were going to kill the Ukrainian people. Notice how they took out all of the females and children. Females and children have to be gone normally in war zones, but normally they're not. But they did a really, really good job this time of making sure they got the fuck out of there.
I don't know. I've seen pictures of dead women and kids personally.
Oh, absolutely. It's never going to be perfect. And I think we all can genuinely understand that. It's never going to be perfect, even if it happened in the United States. We're not going to do a perfect job. It's not going to be clean. But if you look at it and say, hey, this is where it connects. They have the same tanks. They have the same guns at the beginning of the war. Not now. We've kind of influenced all of that and kind of given them all of the armaments in the fucking world. But at the beginning, they had the same guns, same tanks, same planes, same howitzers, same everything. Because half of the installations for Russia were in fucking Ukraine. So if they're going to send the tanks from the Cold War, that's psychological warfare. If that thing doesn't have a Z on it, you don't know which fucking country it belongs to. You could be shooting your best friend, or it could be
a really poor country that doesn't have new tanks.
Yeah, and nobody genuinely knows because every country lies about its GDP. Every single one does. And that is a whole. It genuinely is, and I understand that.
The government doesn't lie to people.
I'm just pointing at one way to look at it. Because genuinely, it could be the truth. It could be they are misconstruing it to the point where they're like, hey, we're going to fuck up this country. So that way we are the population majority, whether that's 33% or 50%. That's exactly what they're trying to do.
Russia says they have more nuclear weapons. Israel says they don't have any.
You ask, huh?
I don't know. Which island in the Caribbean's getting them this time, boys? Is it going to be Cuba again, or is it going to be the Bahamas?
All right.
Reasonably well laid out conspiracies, though, for a couple of
they all three were good. All three were structured. All three had direction. All three were better than the majority of the things on the iceberg. So congratulations all around on that.
Woo! Good job, Roman. Talk shit.
I also have to mention this before you go into deliberation. We also came up with our own complete conspiracy theory on the first time you were on. That was called donut theory. I think I'm pretty good at this.
We had practice on, right?
About that.
The donut
theory. So, I think I know which one is the winner. And the reason it's the winner is because, again, I liked all the reasons and had my problems with them for the reasons I had previously stated. But the only one that, while maybe not perfect, at least yet, was an interesting concept that is like a new delineation for me is Josh.
Damn,
so,
man.
I think that's a good draft.
I think Josh gets it. I think Josh wins.
We win.
Only because again, Myth a little too.
Yeah, I just went a little bit too solid with it.
It was
just
too
straight
good. It was
wasn't a
too good.
conspiracy.
That was the problem. Yeah.
It was
nailed it
too
too
good
well.
and too scripted.
And then Zach's, like I said, it's just a little bit off the mark, I think.
Yeah.
Josh is the only one I heard, and I was like, there could be something there. So
There could be a link
Well,
there.
I like that.
I
So
knew.
Josh gets the dub. Congratulations.
I went into that topic thinking
you.
there was going to be more space in between just the straight up connection. And then the more I looked into it, the more I was like, well, this is just real. I can't turn back.
You were
now.
like, wait a minute.
I've already put 6 fucking
Alvin
hours
Coolidge.
into this.
Wait a minute. But famed mobster J. Edgar Hoover? Wait a minute. Wait, what the fuck? Jimmy Hoffa's best friend, J. Edgar Hoover. Wait, he was a president. Hold the fuck up.
A president. Josh. I love you, bud. Genuinely, I fucking love you like a brother, like nobody else genuinely understands. Don't talk about politics.
Who's got the
What are you talking about?
hostage in
J.
their
Edgar Hoover was a
basement?
president. What are you implying?
I will bet you $150 fucking that J. Edgar Hoover was never a fucking president.
Was
He
just
never
a
touched the
FBI?
executive office in any fucking way.
Who did he work under then?
Handshake right fucking
Oh, he
now.
worked under a shit ton of them. Never mind.
Handshake right fucking now.
No, he just Googled it.
He's still the director of the FBI. I mean, shit. Okay, I'm sorry I said president.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
No, I'm fucking with you, bud. Presidents and like history and shit is like my genuine thing. So like I knew I was going to go like world stage of
that
like
is-
trying to connect something that's bigger than I probably should have.
That is hilarious, though. How
Yeah, I'm not
much
gonna lie,
it's
man.
Oh, this
In
will
my
be a
opinion,
cool
Zach,
conspiracy.
yours was by far
He's
the
like,
most
oh
unbelievable.
no.
Zach, yours sounded like you listened to like an episode of that guy, Alex Jones.
I was
or
like,
something, and just came out
I
with
had
it.
like 50
No.
tabs open at the end of it, just following links.
No, I came up with that completely just connecting the dots and how somebody that was like somewhat on the spectrum could see it. And that's how I kind of went by it.
That was a good way.
What spectrum?
That's a good way of putting it.
I'm not going to say which spectrum. I'm going to say a spectrum that is not mine. So I wanted to look at it in a different way, so that way I could understand how somebody else would look at it. So I wanted to be able to articulate how they would see it in the best way that you possibly could. So I wanted to lay it out in a way that nobody else was going to go that far or go that in depth. Yes, I did not connect every single dot, but every dot was touched. And I wanted to go into a bigger thing of like, hey, this is what's going on because the answer's not fucking there yet.
Interesting. All right. So
All right.
Josh, DM me your Venmo or whatever because I am paying it on principle because I said
You
I
can
was.
probably
So-
donate to his Twitch stream if you want to do that.
I'm gonna be too
yeah.
busy when I'm streaming, I would think, but you feel free to stop by there if you want to.
Very cool.
And thank
I think
you,
we
man.
need
That
to
was
talk
fun.
about
Good challenge.
I think we need to talk about Waco because you just made a big.
I haven't seen the video
Video
about
about
it. I want to talk
What
about
a
it.
Wait, dumb question. How the fuck did I not win with throwing those jokes in there? I had jokes flowing too, and I told the fucking story.
Because it was about
I lived-
believability.
All three of you at the same fucking time. And told the story. No.
Yeah, that's what would determine it because I was focusing on believability, and
Yeah, I
it's
know.
like Myths was too far one way. Zach's
Myths was
was
completely
too far the
believable.
other way.
Zach's was completely absurd, and then mine was like, "That's fucking absurd," but
but
it's just crazy enough to where it might work.
That's the best conspiracies where you're like, no, unless like
Yeah. I learned a
So-
lot from the first time. I had no idea about the MLK thing. That's not a fucking conspiracy. That's true. That dude did
Yeah.
not kill Martin Luther King, and he went to prison for it. And my school book, in my history book in school, told me that dude killed Martin Luther King. He didn't.
Still do. They still do.
Crazy.
So Josh, you might be the only person who haven't heard about. I'm sure you've heard about it, but do you know a lot about Waco, or at least the incident?
Okay,
Of the
so what I know about
compound?
Waco. For one thing, I know Timothy McVeigh was interviewed there. That's a fun fact. Did you guys know that? Timothy McVeigh was there. I'm
Mhm.
sure Wendigoon. Was that in your video?
Yeah.
Timothy McVeigh was there. He's interviewed at the scene. That's fucking sketch. And I also know that with how little I know about it, I don't like to jump to conclusions. I like to get as much information as I can on the subject. And I don't know that much about this, but the government shot first. I'm just throwing that out there. That's all. I don't need to know that much to know.
he
The
can't
government
keep
murdered
getting away with
children.
this.
Yeah, no, they literally can, but we don't want them to. They can, but they can.
Yeah.
So from what I
Christ.
understand, another cult situation. we got a hell of a lot of guns, and we think the end of the world is coming. The Davidians, if I'm not mistaken, right? And once again, rumors of child brides. The FBI shows up. A shot is mysteriously fired after a several-day siege or standoff. A shot is fired, and then lots of innocent children died and were killed and burned down in houses, I think. And the government says, "Oh no, they shot us first."
Main compound,
Yeah, their own compound, right, in Waco, Texas. That's about what I've got. And like I said, with that much information, here's the conclusion I'm drawing. The government did it. Now I'm ready to learn more.
Pretty safe call.
It's funny too how like Josh has learned that he doesn't like, I don't mean this as an insult, but you don't really know anything about the overall siege, but he does know the government did it.
I guarantee you some sketchy government shit happened, and my opinion already is that they did it. So I don't need any further details.
I can't remember if you touched on this, Wendigoon, but the David Chapman, or what's his
David Koresh.
No, not the leader, but the ATF who just got
David Chipman.
David Chipman just got honored or like up for the head of ATF, and he was at the Waco siege.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. About that. I was going to put that in the video, but there's two reasons I didn't. David Chipman is often credited as being the one. Okay, so there's a bunch of pictures that
there's a fake photo.
Yes, that the hostage rescue team took afterwards of them all standing in front of the fire. And a bunch of people credit the guy in the helmet holding the M204 as being David Chipman. That is not David Chipman.
Yeah.
That is, I forget his name. It's something something like Allen, whatever. Anyway, those two are not the same. The most conclusive evidence that David Chipman was a part of the ATF at the time, the most conclusive evidence I could find said he was there in the aftermath, like the ones who held the press. So I couldn't find any evidence that he was there like during the actual standoff.
And it doesn't seem like he was, but like, so they had like shipment cards that kept track of where these agents were shipped, and he was there after the wreckage.
Yes. Yeah.
But still, like being a part of that team.
Oh yeah,
for him to be in the position he's in now after that legendary bungle, you would think he'd have been fired.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I still wanted to bring it up. The main reason that I did not bring it up is
because he dug up the door frame and then burned it.
We'll get to that in a second. There was a burnt door frame. That's not a joke.
Yes.
There was another burnt door frame.
Same MO.
Same MO. They don't call them one thing. They're consistent either way. No, but the other reason I did it is because I was kind of nervous about that video. About YouTube taking it down, because they will take stuff down if it's a little too rapping on the door of anti-government. So the way my distinction I set for myself was do not say anything that applies currently. Don't like everything I did was like, oh, how awful it was in 1993. There was nothing like. There's nothing like, and that guy is still operating in your state. So call your local representative
even though he is.
Drive to their house. His P.O. box will be linked in the description.
Send them some pizza, boys.
Yeah, make sure you. Anyway, I need to stop making.
One of my favorite things about the Waco is him going up into the bell tower and playing the guitar while they're being.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen this, Josh, or there's like a recreation of it on the documentary of Netflix about it. But like during the siege, like they were all like camped out, stuck inside. The agents are all outside, like trained snipers, everything. You know, he goes up into the bell tower, pulls out, like brings an amp and guitar there and just starts playing.
It was one of the Davidians?
Very legendary. Yeah, David Koresh, the leader.
Yeah. David himself did. Oh, dang.
Yeah.
He hooked up to an amp system and started playing like classic rock songs while the ATF were outside with
the
their
ATF is out there like,
spotlights.
Motley Crue, man, play some shitters, bro. Freebird. Wait, fuck.
Something that has still never been explained, the psychological torture, them playing like rabbits being slaughtered in like just they brought so the ATF brought out crazy loud like speaker systems outside and would just play loud music 20 or not music but loud sounds 24/7, just blasting it all throughout the night.
To make them come out, just like, okay, fuck it, I can't listen to it anymore. That's
simple. So what happened is the ATF like started the whole show whenever they started the gunfight. So then the FBI HRT comes up, which is a lovely group of individuals.
Oh yeah.
And the HRT's like, we got to do something by God. Keep in mind, they're called the hostage rescue team. And the first thing they did was build a machine gun nest. Like, yeah, we're going to rescue those hostages so hard.
We're going to kill those kids and take them out alive.
There's pictures of like the hostage team with like 3 belt feds in a row, like aiming at the front door. Like, soon as those hostages come out, we'll be good to go.
Can't wait to smoke one of these bitches. Come on.
And Josh, like the government did not only shoot first once, they did it twice when the men were burying their dead. The government shot at them again and started another gunfight.
3 times. 3 times. They shot the last time first as well.
To this day now, they claim that they were shot at first. Correct? I mean,
yes.
Also,
and that's what leads into the door being burned because the bullet hole was in that door, and then the door was never turned up.
So David,
what do you know?
David Koresh walked outside the front door, and he was standing on like the front steps, and he had his hands up, said something to the effect of, "Don't shoot. There's women and kids in here." And then someone started shooting. David Koresh ducked inside, and none of the Davidians got near the front door for the rest of the day. In the footage, it looks like the front door's filled with bullet holes. So in the court trials that followed, they said, okay, well, if the front door's full of bullet holes, that meant someone shot at Koresh for the 2 seconds he was outside. And because of the way the gunfight works, it must have meant that the ATF fired first at Koresh while he was standing outside. So whenever they called for that door, because they're metal doors, and even though the building eventually burnt down, the right-hand door was just charred. It was still standing there. But the left-hand door was gone. So they were like, hey, where's the left-hand door? And the FBI was like, oh, we lost it.
Damn it. Damn it, Jimmy. He's always taking our stuff.
They really need to hire better storage.
What's really crazy, and someone sent me a picture of this, is you can apparently the door was found. Can I share pictures to the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
You press the share button.
I normally wouldn't be annoying like that, but
no, you're good. You press the share button and then you click whatever tab or location it's on, and as soon as it goes up, I will remove the banner.
Okay, I got a slight amount. Let me save it. I'm saving the image right now. I got some people who sent me this, and I was like, is this real? And then I did some slight research, and it looks at least partially real.
Plausible.
It's plausible, yeah. So let me share. I'm so dumb. Do I hit share slides from your computer?
Okay. You click share, and yours would be either share screen or...
I gotcha, okay.
And then just open it in an image box.
I like right-click open image and tab, and then you can share that tab.
I would like to point out that if the Davidians would have fired first and there was proof in that door frame that the bullets had started from the other side, they wouldn't have lost that motherfucker.
Oh, no, bro. That shit would be behind a fucking bank vault.
Promise you that. It would be encased in gold right now. Like, it would be, oh, my God. It would be like their number one holy grail of evidence. But since it proved that they did it, then it disappeared.
All right, I'm just going to share the entire screen for a second. Okay. And let me go ahead and pull this up. So it's ready to go. Yeah. All right. So share. All right. So, okay. So now.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this got found in a ATF lockup.
Is that evidence?
This is the door. Yeah. This was years later.
Oh, my God.
And I looked into this, and it seems fairly legit. So you can see, obviously, these larger rounds, but there's also a bunch of holes over here. So it seems like they, in fact, let me stop sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The Davidians definitely fired first. They wanted that smoke, didn't they?
They were so careless, they left an ATF vest sitting right in front of it.
I know.
That's
All right,
probably
listen.
something from
Look,
it.
we know the evidence was
Yeah, it looks
misplaced,
like-
but the ATF is not responsible in any. Oh fuck, man, who left the ATF at the door? Damn it, man. We were gonna say it wasn't.
door.
We're gonna
Oh,
blame,
no,
crazy
we're
yeah.
gonna
shit.
blame CIA for this, man. Fuck.
The crazy shit, and this does connect it a little bit to now at times, but it's virtual. The fact that Rainbow Six had the balls to create a Waco map is
That is so
absolutely
sick,
insane to
yeah.
me.
That is
What did they
pretty
do now?
wild.
So
They made a map
Outback
for Waco.
is based on the Waco compound. Yeah, so there's a map
No,
on
it's Seattle or something like that.
On what
No.
game?
It's called Oregon.
Rainbow Six Siege.
I think it's
The-
called-
Oh, on Rainbow Six. Oh, okay.
yeah.
They made a map based on it. God Almighty, that's kind of dark, isn't it?
Hold on, give me
Like
one
the
second.
Lost
and
Eric
I will
Harris
show
Doom
it.
levels from Columbine.
It's called
My God.
Oregon. I
Oregon.
yes. So
I remember
Oregon.
when I was researching it, people were like, it's Rainbow Six map. All the comments were like, can't believe they made the Rainbow Six map a real thing.
The internet is. Oh, dude. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, there we go.
That shit's giving me the willies. I just watched that Stay Obedient and Pray thing, that Mormon foundationalist thing. I watched that on Netflix last
Mhm.
night. This is giving me the willies right now, dude.
There are very
you
similar
can still
vibes.
play on that map right now.
So
Like it's not a map
yeah.
that was
Oh yeah, it's still in
released
rotation.
at day one and
It's
then
a good
removed
map, too.
because of like hate. It's still playable today.
You can still
Like,
play
that
Eric
to me
Harris's
is-
Doom levels too. So,
Like that to
Some
me is
things are preserved.
insane because like if you look at a lot of this shit that goes on life-wise,
It's obscure enough that like the
Yeah,
mainstream
exactly.
doesn't really know about it. That's why.
right, yeah. If it was on the news, that'd probably get pulled really quickly. I would imagine.
I'm sure if someone complained enough, it would be a deal. But
I've heard of people
I
getting in
personally
big trouble
think
for
it's
making
kind of
Minecraft.
Hell yeah.
I've seen,
no, it's a nice like it's a nice monument to what somebody who was actually being, hey, I'm not going to be aggressive, was like on that map. You are the government infiltrating.
yeah.
compound
I would
that
also
they
like to
had.
point out that in the case of video games in general, I think it's always really blanket when people say like this is offensive. Just like I think this with music and art in general is that you don't ever know what somebody's intention was behind it. Like,
yeah.
Okay, everybody knows in my case, or a lot of people know, what led to me having this argument in the first place was somebody tried to get me to download a video game that made fun of the Columbine incident, right? So there's a video game that makes fun of that, okay? A lot of people find that very, very offensive. That's horrible. You get to play as Eric and Dylan, run around and shoot these kids, okay? This dude is a creator. He is an artist that made this game. For all we know, his intention of it is to show the warped mindset of it, you know, and to like to belittle it and like push it away. Nobody asks any questions like that, though. They see it, they get offended, they get mad about it, and they're like, yo, you know what? You got to fucking ruin that shit. But it's just like Kurt Cobain in the song Polly, that song where he wrote from a first person perspective about a true kidnapping case that happened. You know, a girl was kidnapped, she was tortured, she befriended the guy that kidnapped her, and she escaped because she convinced him to untie her. That was a true story. Kurt Cobain read about it. He wrote first person perspective Polly. And so many people got so butthurt. Everybody was like, how could you write about that monster? Why would you want to be him? And I just remember him saying, like, do you guys not understand that this is social commentary? I was trying to say, how the fuck can you be this warped? How can you have this mindset? This is my art to try and deal with things like this happening in the world. I wasn't saying I support it. I wasn't saying I want to do it, but nobody asked him any questions. They said, oh, you wrote a song about torturing a girl? You're evil. And he said, this is how I deal with things. This is reality. This is me portraying what could have gone on in this guy's head to make him think it was okay to do this to another human being. But nobody heard him out on it. So art is so subjective.
Even like the evidence they used against you when they took your notebooks,
right? Exactly.
For the raps you were writing, you know.
Exactly. Some of those songs were not from my perspective, and now it sounds terrible. But that's exactly the kind of thing. Like I first got into that because of like Tyler the Creator. He wrote a song where he was talking about stitching people up and killing them, and I was like, that's kind of weird. I saw an interview and he said that song's not about me. That's from the perspective of like John Wayne Gacy or some serial killer, and I was like, that's crazy. That's a really cool concept. You know, he wrote the song from the perspective of somebody else. So I started getting into that. And then I decided I was going to write songs from the perspective of serial killers. And the FBI did not take very kindly to that. Very much at all. I was like, I'm going to be like Tyler, the Creator. And they're like, no, you're not. You're going to prison.
Yeah, they'd rather give a kid diddler a time cut. But
what's that joke they say? Sarcasm doesn't read well in courtrooms.
Yeah, for real.
No, it doesn't.
There's two
Josh just says way too well.
Dude, when they read some of my raps, my homies had my back now. When they were reading some of the stuff they confiscated from me,
You
my
literally
friends
said
in the
it's
audience,
called sarcasm, bro.
Yes, I literally typed it's called sarcasm. I literally word for word when I made the threat said it's called sarcasm, bro. Not that the feds cared about that though. What was I saying right before that? I lost
Your
you. Sorry.
friend had
So
your back.
sorry.
Oh yeah, my homies have my back, man. No, it's all good. You know, I'm one trap. I'm burnt out. My homies have my back when they were reading it. You remember when I was on PKA, I did that line that I wrote, the horrible joke I never should have wrote in jail. I wrote a joke about having a dream where Dylan Klebold from Columbine gave me a gun. It was 100% me making fun of my situation. I was a very sarcastic dude. I still am. I was making fun of where I was, and I was talking about, oh yeah, I'm crazy, and they gave me guns in my dream and all this. Yeah, that didn't translate well. But whenever they read it out loud in the courtroom and all the old people are looking mad and turning pink in the face, all of my friends laughed loud as fuck. And that's probably part of the reason I got so much time, because the judge looked visibly angry that people are laughing at these jokes. They were like, and they're trying to read them like an emo kid reads his diary. They're reading these lyrics like, I will make a corpse into a coffee table party and leave. Like, bitch, this isn't Shakespeare. Do you think I'm really going to turn somebody's corpse into a coffee table? I don't even know anything about taxidermy. This is absurd. And they're trying to take it at face value, like completely literal. But luckily, my friends laughed really loud. But the judge, I mean, they looked mad about that. They were like, how can you find this funny? He's making jokes about killing people. And like, it's fucking goofy, man. If I was really crazy and I wanted to do it, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't joke about it,
So like, there's two parts of this. I released a video 5 years ago, around now, about my mom and about the problems that I've had in my life and shit like that. Directly just laying waste to everything I possibly could. Do you know how many times these fucking idiots on fucking Discord fucking post that shit in the PKA Discord? Like, it fucking hurts me. I created the fucking content, you retard.
Posted
You
what?
think I fucking care?
You talking about that one guy?
No, there's like 15 people that are like, Zach made a video about his mom. I literally openly talk about the problems with my parental figures on my podcast.
I don't understand how you putting a video on YouTube, why is that leverage to say LOL, this information's public? Didn't you choose to make the video in the first place?
Yes.
That's my point.
Where's their armor here?
Like,
what's their weapon?
Like, how the fuck do you create something as a creator? All of us fucking create stuff all the fucking time. Yes, those are my words that I'm using. I said those words for a reason, regardless of if I'm entertaining somebody, getting something off my chest, making somebody more knowledgeable about something. That is what I do. If I said something, then there was a reason behind it. Understand that. There is creator intention behind things. Whether or not that's imperative to what it is or not is where the problem is. Like, you have the same problem with Call of Duty Vanguard being censored by images for Nazis and stuff like that. They didn't use any Nazi symbols, and they didn't like segregate who and what character you were playing when you were playing as the Germans on German maps. And then you also have the things that's going on with like rappers now. I think in like Atlanta, I could be wrong on the specific locality, but they're using their raps. I guess this one guy, Pusha T, is facing 32 years in prison. That's supposedly going to be reduced to a 10-year, and he was released after serving 8.5 years for specific lyrics that he had on rap songs.
Mm-hmm. Feds can use those. Bobby Shmurda, when I was locked up, there was a big deal about Bobby Shmurda was being prosecuted for his lyrics, and unfortunately, most rappers lie.
Yeah.
Bobby Shmurda wasn't lying. Bobby Shmurda was like, I got 90 guns in my motherfucking living room. And the feds are like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 90. No, he was serious. I got 30 keys of cocaine sitting in my trunk. They opened the trunk. He's got 30 kilos of fucking cocaine. I shot 3 dudes last week on this specific street at this specific time. Well, we did have 3 unsolved murders on that specific street. Next thing you know, Bobby Shmurda's going up the river,
Bro,
so there is precedent for that. There is precedent for using, and the case that was really important in mine was the Lonis versus United States. I talked about that case a lot because the guy wrote a rap saying that he wanted to kill his wife, his estranged wife, ex-wife, whatever you want to call it, and that he was going to take out a kindergarten with him while he did it. Right. One of the most sarcastic things I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. There's no possible way that anybody under the age of like 30 could possibly think that this was serious. He ended up getting raided for it, arrested, charged with the same things that I was, and ended up going to prison for that threat against the school. His conviction was later overturned. That's what was important in my case, because they said this was an online threat. The opposing force said this was not a threat. He expressed himself in a certain way, threat had they were discussing what is a threat. Is it a threat if I'm sitting here with you guys and I say, I'm going to punch a hole in my window? Is that a threat? If I tell you guys I'm going to pick up my house and throw it out the window, that's not a threat because it's not really realistic. It's kind of hyperbole.
It's where it becomes
legally
actionable,
protected.
essentially. Yeah,
right.
Where it becomes actionable, like saying fire in a crowded theater.
Exactly.
Actionable
is
with
like
a lot
the big
of
thing.
Yeah, a lot of
something that has to be
free speech
considered
and
is
stuff
whether or
now.
not you had the ability to do it, whether you had the intention to do it. The judge ruled that he believed that I had the intention, but not the means. So I got a 6-point enhancement for that, despite obviously no physical evidence whatsoever. But the Alonis versus United States case, he actually got his conviction overturned, and they raised the standard for online threats. That's why you've probably heard me say that if I did it today, I almost certainly would not go to prison because I had no weapons in my home. I had multiple mental evaluations. The teachers had my back and wrote letters. That matters now. That didn't matter when I made the threat because of Alonis versus United States. So once they overturned it, luckily, it sounds like he's got about the same luck as me because he got his conviction overturned, fought it, went back to court, got found guilty again under the new standard. And the conviction remains, but they still raise the standard.
I may be absolutely autistic when I say this, but I feel like I'm close enough to you and a close enough friend to you that I can ask it this way after the fucked up thing you said that was clipped a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the amount of time that you did in prison aided you as a person?
It's so begrudging for me to say it. I will say this. When I went back on violation for the 1 year after I smoked weed and I got sent back, I improved much more as a person during that 1 year than I did in the 5 years that I'd served the first time. So,
but is that because you knew that if you kept fucking up, you would keep having the same problem in your life?
Perhaps. A large part of it was Karis.
Was there an actionable change during that time? Obviously, yes, Karis obviously changed your entire life. I get that. But when you have something that's actionable, like, hey, if I'm a better person and I do better things and I don't continually fuck up on stupid shit, then I don't have this problem anymore. Did that change you when you looked at it? Like, as you look at it now, did going to prison for something stupid change who you are as a person today?
Absolutely. 100%.
Because I could see a lot of people be like, oh yeah, no, fuck the police. It didn't help me. It didn't do anything. And I think
it didn't help me. I helped me, but I think that I helped me. The system is not set up to help you whatsoever. I got no help. I was not told about any kind of education that you could pursue. They vaguely said you can take a vocational training course. The only reason they mention that is because for every inmate that signs up for it, they get money. Even if you stop coming, they get money for every time you were supposed to be in that class. So they'll tell you, sign the list. They don't tell you how to get to the class. They don't tell you what days the class is taking place. They just want your name on that list for more money. So, I mean, I can see both sides here, Zach. I will say that the length of time, ultimately, yes. The amount of time that I served, ultimately, yes. Now, we've talked a lot in the past about, I had a spiritual experience. I was a totally different dude spiritually and in my core before I went to prison. The second time is when I had that experience. And I don't talk about it too much, but that is the thing that really, really changed me. And that's when, even though I do say that it's an external thing more so than internal in this particular case, I realized basically what you just said, man. I was like, you know what, dude, this isn't fucking working. I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing drugs and running around trying to screw a bunch of girls at the same time and cussing and fighting and acting like a dickhead, being mean to people. And it's got me nowhere. This is where it's got me. I'm sitting here in a concrete cell right now with bars on the windows and I can't fucking go nowhere. This is what this has gotten me. And I got out and I had an opportunity. I had the opportunity to walk the straight and narrow and prove the judge wrong. And what did I do? I did exactly what everybody thought I was going to do. And I smoked some weed and I drank some liquor. Went right back. And also a part of that experience that I had, man, and this is kind of hard for me to explain because of, as I've said many times, it was a spiritual experience that I had, even though I was an aggressive atheist at this point. I know what happened. Man, a large part of what happened with me, Zach, was compassion. And that's really what changed everything for me. I stopped seeing things like when I was a kid, man, my dad was so fucked up. My mom was so fucked up. We talked about this with James last week. And I started seeing things like, damn, I had food in the fridge, and maybe my clothes were secondhand sometimes or threadbare, but I had clothes on my back and my dad would go work for 3 weeks. Like the compassion washed over me, man, that we're all human and everybody makes mistakes. And I've been walking around with a chip on my shoulder my whole fucking life, acting like everybody owed me something and everybody else is the reason that I suck. And, I would be great if only everybody would. No. All that stopped. All of a sudden that all melted away. And I said, everybody's human. Everybody's doing the best that they fucking can, man. You got to give people a break. You make mistakes and you don't want people holding that shit against you. You want people to forgive you and work forward with you too. You're going to do that with everybody you meet from now on. And life has gone great since then. So while the length of time in prison, I didn't have that experience until the end of that 6 years, Zach. So it's arguable. You could say the years were involved.
In the grand scheme of things, that specific day could have happened any time during that.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I see both sides. Exactly. That could have happened my third day.
The fact that it happened and the fact that it changed you as a person to who you are today is exactly what they were aiming at. Yes,
Yep.
he was fucked up. Yes, they did the fucked up thing. And I've never said anything different than that.
I've always said they did the right thing for me from the wrong place. It was the right thing from the wrong place. They did it out of evil, man, but it worked out. 99% of the time, it doesn't work out, but it worked out for me, damn it. Glad to be here with you boys.
Like, and obviously, go ahead, Wendy.
I don't think it's hypocritical to say that you got done wrong and a horrible thing happened to you, but you grew as a person from a horrible experience.
Exactly.
That's the way that I look at it.
Like in no way justifying what happened to you or saying it was good for you, just saying that you made good from a bad thing.
Yeah, and everybody wants to just make it black and white and be like, Josh complains about the punishment, so he doesn't think he did anything wrong. It's not true. Josh admits that he knows he did wrong, and he needed help at that point.
I was going to say this
bro.
afterwards.
I was struggling. I was mentally fucked up, bro. I was going through anxiety and depression and mental illness, bro. Get help, man. Yeah, hell yeah, I needed help, dude. I never said that the threat I made was okay. Thank you, Myth. Let me reiterate one more time. You can't say shit like that, man. I know that. I didn't think about it at the time. I was 19 and I was drunk. I needed some counseling, man. I needed some help. I needed some intervention in my life, and that was a huge flag right there, for it. Now, their response, that's where I get a little bit, that's where I'm like,
5 years in prison is not the good response to someone who said it's a dumb thing online. I think we can all also agree with that.
No, even if I had a pistol, if I would have had like one gun, bro, I could see 5, I could see 5.
Bro, you know how many people have said, I'm going to come get you in a COD lobby?
Yeah.
I know, right? They don't have the resources to arrest people that make
way worse than that.
I've said worse than that on RuneScape.
As a Sunday school teacher, I'm not going to repeat the things I've heard in the COD lobby, but they excel that just a little bit.
I've been told to stay home at school. They're like, don't come to school the next day. I said this last week, and this kid was my friend. He literally was like my bodyguard. He was as tall as me and like 5'50", and had dreads and was white and pasty as fuck. He's one of the only people that I've ever heard of that was even offered this. He got offered to have sex in a graveyard, and that kind of scared the shit out of me. Yeah. And then throughout my 9th and 10th grade year, it was like once or twice every quarter, he would be like, Zach, don't come to school tomorrow.
Yeah, I had a kid at
I'm not even going to risk it. I'm just not going to come.
I had a kid at my high school literally carve with a knife a death threat into a bathroom stall
my God,
got suspended for like a week, maybe. I don't know.
This
same fucking thing I did.
The same guy brought alcohol to school and was suspended for a full month. So I do want to say, Wendigoon, thank you for coming on. We have been closing out the show with one of my fucked up stories from my life. So feel free to pick a number from the list that I posted in our private chat. People have been saying that these stories are fucking fake. They're fucking not. They're genuinely fucking not. Where I am currently is because I've actually grinded my fucking ass off. Yes, the list is also longer. I've added more stories. And I'm trying to be a better person, which is why I'm able to talk about these things and enunciate them the way that I do to try and see where I've been and where I'm going. That's what you got to do.
People who actually know Zach know that he's not bullshitting when he tells these things.
These stories
you told your mom was in here like, oh yeah, I remember that shit.
Yeah.
These stories end 3 years ago. I have 3 more years worth of stories I can add. Well, 2 years ago, but yes.
So I get to pick one of these? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
You guys can
or a story.
Figure a number.
Oh, Jordy's going crazy.
Oh, all of us. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's for you. We let the guest pick a number. You can pick a story or a number that looks good to you, and then he tells the story behind it.
Okay, so the one that, if it's not been told yet, that I would like to know is, let me find that number, 16.
16. Oh,
16.
I just added this one today.
All right, cool, perfect.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So, do you guys want me to talk about the funny shit that happened today that also interacts with 16? Or do you want me just to tell 16?
That depends, because I got to pee, so.
Do you want me to let you pee and then come back to the story?
No, let's go. Let's go.
Or do you want to do your? I'm gonna run away as soon as possible, as soon as the show's done.
Look, I gotta pee. I can come back after I pee later, but I gotta pee.
I just know what you normally do.
You tell the story.
So.
I'm not busting yet. We're good.
Okay.
My eyes aren't watering.
I will kind of give you the TLDR on what happened today. So my kid's school calls me today. Like, fuck. I have to pick up a kid again. Like, it's been like every week for like the past month that one of my kids has had to be picked up at least fucking once. And I'm like, fucking again. Except this time, it was the principal's direct line that was fucking calling me. And I was like,
oh, wow.
My kids are following down my footsteps and I'm getting a suspension phone call. Fuck. So she's like, I didn't want to have to call you today, but I got this. I had to deal with this shit. I'm like, oh, God. So this kid was blocking my son from walking across the bridge in between the two pieces of playground equipment. And he started putting his hands on my son and like blocking him completely, like bear hugging him. And he's like, get your hands off me. And he said it once loud enough that he fucking heard it. And they showed my son the replay. I was really, really tempted to ask them for the replay so that way I could show it. But I was like, no, that's a huge legal liability to show that online. But it would have been fucking hilarious. So my son walks up to the principal and say, I slapped the kid. I slapped him as hard as I fucking could. He didn't say fuck, but I just say things.
Paraphrasing, yeah.
Yep. He's like, I slapped him as hard as I could. Me and my wife talked about it, and we're like, no trouble. No fucking trouble at all. He can bitch slap whoever the fuck he wants if they put their hands on him. And he bitch slapped that fucking kid on the playground.
Will Smith his ass.
So as soon as they got home and finished dinner, I said, you guys can have ice cream. You did good today. Because finally he stood up for himself. This is not the same level of story. So I was in 4th grade and I dealt with this kid all through elementary school. And he was one of the most annoying, convoluted, and autistic fucking people I've ever met in my life. And I mean autistic in the whole semi-derogatory way of like he's so honed in on one fucking topic. That is his entire life. He came to school in Civil War reenactment gear and had the balls in 2nd grade to ask if it was okay if he brought muskets to school so that way he could show them off.
That's not okay. Not even back then.
I live in a city that was 50% white, 50% black, and this was after Columbine. If anybody doesn't understand what that means, Google, please, because I'm not going into that here. So, obviously, they fucking told him no. 2 years later, this kid still, only when we're going over American history, every single thing he answers gets related back to the American Civil War.
Yeah, every mindset.
So we're in fucking gym class. And he's like, Zach's like Stonewall fucking Jackson.
Oh my God,
I'm
this
like,
kid in the Civil War.
I'm like, bitch, we just got fucking changed into fucking basketball shorts because we're playing basketball. And you're going to run over there and run your fucking mouth. I walked up to him and hit him with the squarest fucking punch that I've ever swung in my fucking life. And broke his fucking nose.
Why does this kid sound like he was homeschooled in a public school?
Basically.
And I was
when he
like,
broke his nose.
His nose started pouring blood and he ran up to all 3 of the gym teachers and started whining and crying about it.
Screaming, I'm sure.
But schools were actually good then and told me that the only repercussions were that I had to sit out gym class.
Oh no.